Ago. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Heritage on Air series. Heritage on Air series is brought to you by Miss Cookie Spices. No blending, no peeling, just scoop and cook. My name is David Citi. Now when we come back after a short break, we will get right into the conversations. Ago. Welcome back. Now, I have once again historian Kweku Dakum Ankra as my guest today, and we're going to be talking about the role of Freemasons in Ghana's independence. Kweku, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, why is it even important at all to talk about Freemasons when it comes to Ghana or Ghana's independence?
That is very critical because the Masonic Brotherhood or the Freemasonry all over the world are people who care about issues of democratic rights, good governance, and they care for another human being. So if you look at their motto, the truth, the charity, okay, is talking about the giving to society. And again, the association of men of intellect, well-educated, professionals in their various fields. In whatever they engage, they try to make or try to change society and bring something good for the benefit of mankind. So the truth, the brotherhood, and the charity is very critical in wherever they found themselves. So wherever Masons find themselves, they try to better that place. Unfortunately, over the years, particularly in our Gold Coast, from the post-independent Ghana, Freemasonry has been demonized as a cultic institution, has been demonized by both the churches, by organized religions, Islam, particularly, and then when you come to organized religion, particularly the modern-day charismatic church, who do not understand the historic underpinnings and the emergence of Masonic society as a brotherhood of people of intellectual minds who meet and share their ideas together and think on how to better society. Those ideals, for those of us who study as an academic area, you come to understand that the Masonic institution is more than what the modern day Christianity. Young people even go around, they try to kind of equate Freemasonry with Illuminati. Some cultic practices with Freemasonry.
Okay.
Simply because Freemasonry, like all organizations, have their secrets, but they are a society of men and people, which people know them in society. They are the big and the best and greatest of minds wherever you find them in the world. And that role they have played historically, they've used it also when it comes to issues of fighting for the rights of the common man, as well as self-government of society. And it is in this direction that we are going to see the emergence of the Freemasonry and the Gold Coast, and how the Masons in various professions use the Masonic lodges as places they meet as a citadel of civic democracy, and through their sociability were able to use the ideas of governance to fight in the open political arena for self-government in the Gold Coast.
Interesting. Now I understand that the Freemasons themselves come from a tradition of stonemasonry from way back, and they built castles and built cathedrals, and they built over the years from the medieval times. They were doing all of these things. How did they then impact? And if you can just share with us some of that, our transition to independence.
Yeah, so from the history of Freemasonry has different traditions of where they came from. Some go back to medieval time.
Okay.
Some go back way back than that, even to the time of creation. Some go back to the time of Nero. Some go back to the Hiram Abiy and the building of the Solomonic Temple and so on.
Okay.
Whatever it is a gathering of men of intellect, special capability, who came together and formed that sociability of like-mindedness for the betterment of society. That is what people have to understand first and foremost. So they have been medical doctors, lawyers, judges, reverend ministers, people from all clergymen of all sorts. Until recently, Methodist clergymen were all Freemasons. Anglican clergymen were Freemasons. Even some Catholics, until the church, the Catholic Church banned it. They were Freemasons before they founded their St. John's, and then the Marshalians were all ordered in line with certain Masonic ideals. If you travel to some Catholic churches, their building itself shows you certain Masonic architecture, showing that the hand that built this thing within the church were Masons. So it is how we're supposed to see them, as a man of special talent and ideas who meet together in the place. The place they meet is the lodge, where the initiation will take place with their temples and so on. So when they meet in these places, they share about their common brotherhood, ideas of betterment, how they will help society and so on. That is why normally politics is not shared that much there. But when issues bother the country, brothers try to find a way, and that's how Masons call themselves, brothers. Try to come together and find ways of also contributing towards society and its development. So when we go back to history, there are three forms of Freemasons that developed in England back in the day. So we have the Grand Lodge of England, which started in England. Then you have the Grand Lodge of Ireland. So the Irish have their one. Then the one on the Scotland. So these were the Masons that during the colonial times. Masons from these three lodges were posted as soldiers and colonial workers to colonial Africa, to America, and other places. So the Freemasonry, most of them from the England, for their home, the Grand Lodge's home in England. Some of the members were posted as workers of Her Majesty's government, were posted to various colonial territories, some in Americas, some in Europe, some in Asia, some to Africa. So in Africa, the first place they came was in Gambia, when one of the grandmasters was sent there to start and work. And then in the Gold Coast, the first to come here, the first Gold Coast Freemason, there was the Cape Coast Castle Lodge, was when Dr. David Creighton was seconded to the Gold Coast to come and work there and appointed as a master, and he started there from 1700s thereabouts. So that's how the Masonry started from the Cape Coast. But this Masonic brotherhood at that time that came was only for the white Europeans. But even before that Mason will start, there were some Gold Coasters who had been overseas, and they have got themselves involved as Masons. So someone like Anton William Amu, the famous professor Anton William Amu, who was in Germany as a professor of philosophy, was a member of the German Freemason, where he was before he finally returned home. Also, you have Capitan, who was also a member of the Holland Lodge, where he was, Dr. Capitan, who was also a teacher in the Cape Coast Castle. He came from Elmina. He was called Eliza Capitan. So these two people have been. And also a gentleman called William Ansasasreku, who was also sent into slavery in Barbados before he came to England and came. In Cape Coast Castle itself, Philip Kwaku, who was sent to England to study by the Society of Propagation of the Gospel, SPG, upon returning, when he was teaching in the Cape Coast Castle, he also have an organization called the Torrisonian Lodge. So his Torrisonian Society was also granted the status of a lodge, and it became a lodge in Cape Coast for some time. So there was a Torrisonian Lodge there. So it has been so, and over the years, there has been changes. Some of the list on the lodges, we see some of them that were scrapped off because they don't meet the status of certain international standard. So it was so until 1859 when Robert Hutchison, who was the head of the Gold Coast Rifle Committee and the astute mercantile man, and his brother, as well as his cousin Charles Battels, who we met in the first lawyers, himself and Charles Bannerman brothers, and then other Gold Coast brothers founded the first Gold Coast Lodge, which is called the Gold Coast Lodge number 773 at Cape Coast, which is the mother lodge in West Africa. And that lodge belongs to the English Constitution. So the English Constitution had their first lodge, which is 773 in Cape Coast. And from that time when it was founded, Hutchinson himself became the first watchful master of the lodge. Later on, Samuel Bannerman became the watchful master, and it was so that many members of the lodge were produced. And as you can see, from the foundation of the lodge itself, lawyers like Charles Bannerman was there, Edmund Bannerman was there, Blankson was also there, Finlayson was there. So all those first crowds of lawyers who were into politics were also Masons. So if you look at the study of Masons all the way from 1851, all the way, the lawyers in the Gold Coast, all the way from 1851 up to even 1920, all the lawyers produced within that period were Freemasons, with exception of only one lawyer, which was James Elikuse. And this was so shocking to J.B. Dankwa that he didn't understand that of all the astute lawyers, someone like Kuse was not the member of the craft. And this was something that was shocking to him. So he wrote it to him that, I mean, how can that be? Because almost all of them had been. And it is within this that we need to interrogate the role of the Freemasons. What were they doing in society? The Masons were involved in educational development of the Gold Coast. Without the involvement of the Masons, there will be no school like Infantepion. There will be no school like Adisadal. There will be no school like Achemota. They were involved in all this thing. Without the Masons, there will be no University of Ghana. They played a critical role in convincing Asantehene, who was also a brother, to accept the committee set by the Grandmasters, Akukosa, Asafajay, and Co., as well as Techimenson. All of them were Grandmasters. While Kosa was representing the Scottish Freemasonry, Techimenson was representing the Scottish. At that time, Irish has not come. The Irish Constitution came to Gold Coast in 1975-78, before they came by K. Amwasechi. So that was what it is. So the Mason, when they founded the first English Constitution Freemason in 1859, it went on, and they were the leading Masons in the West Africa for a very long time. Until 1922, when the Scottish Freemason was brought to the Gold Coast by William Ward Brew, who was also a lawyer.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue and see how this leads us up to independence. We'll be right back.
Ago.
I've been using Miss Cookie for a very long time. Here's the thing, I don't have time. I really don't have time. When I enter the kitchen to prepare a meal, the last thing I want to do is spend so much time trying to peel things. I want it ready-made. And Miss Cookie Spice gives me that with real organic spices. I think I like the ginger mix because of my childhood memories of peeling ginger. I also love the kelewele. We never made kelewele at home. It was one of those things we always bought, like Auza Kuku. So when I discovered the Miss Cookie kelewele mix, I thought, I can do kelewele at home. So I started buying it. And I started buying it for all my friends and family abroad. And it tastes just like the roadside kelewele, if not better. I can't pick a favorite because I also like the chicken mix. It's very convenient to just put the chicken in the pan and put the mix in it, instead of having to peel garlic. And I keep discovering new variants. But the main things I like to make, really, one is kelewele with Miss Cookie Spice and jollof rice. And my chicken. Shall I go on?
Ago.
All right, welcome back, and we're having a conversation here on the Heritage on Air series, and today we're talking about the role of Freemasons leading up to independence. All right, so we are at the point where we've looked at various Freemasons setting up various institutions and structures and so on. Take us on further.
Yeah, so to explain within the contemporary settings that we have, as I said, the English Constitution came in 1859 and is the Mother Lodge of West Africa. The Scottish Constitution came in 1922. Okay, then we have the Irish, which also came in the 1975 there, about 78. So as today, the Irish and the Scottish Constitution have come together and they have come what is called the Grand Lodge of Ghana, and they are independent from the Scottish and the Irish Constitution. However, the English Constitution is still attached to the Mother Lodge in England. So we have the District Grand Lodge of Ghana, English Constitution. That's what we have. So those are the two that we have operating within the system as a true of ancient and accepted members of the Freemasonry that is around today, the authentic ones. So this organization from the beginning, as I stated, the people of the EC, when I say EC, English Constitution, which was founded in 1859, were involved in most of the nationalism struggle. So people like Saba, Kofi Asem, who was a Reverend Minister, Dr. Mark Hayford, who was a Methodist pastor, and his other brother, Ernest Hayford, who was a second Gold Coast medical doctor. They were all Masons. The first Gold Coast medical practitioner, Dr. Benjamin Kote Papafiu, was a Mason. Acemont, all of them were Masonic brothers. All these people came together and founded the Aborigines Right Protection Society.
Wow.
So every member of that organization, all the politicians at the time, they were all Masons that founded the Aborigines Right Protection Society. If you go in again to all the members who fought against the land law of 1897, 1910, they were also Mason brothers. Now the National Congress for British West Africa, they were all Masonic brothers from the West African territories who have come. So that meeting was a congregation of the best of the best, or the creme de la creme of the Masonic brothers who had interest of achieving independence for their various West African territories in the 90s. If you look at the members that also founded the various political parties, Accra Ratepayers Association, Danka Bruce was a Freemason. Okay? Akela Pasoi was a Freemason. E.C. Quiz was a Mason.
Okay.
All of the members, they were Masons. If you take Gamma party, Kojo Thompson himself was a Mason. Kote Papafiu, Asileko party, was a Freemason. In second D, Kesile Hayford was a brother too. And when you bring it to Cape Coast, Akukosa himself, he was initiated into the Masonic institution in November 1922 by William Woodbrew, who was his master. Okay? And Kobina Kukosa will go on to become the first Grand Master of the District Grand Lodge of of Ghana, Scottish Constitution,
Okay.
in the 1950s.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
So this shows you how these people contributed from that period in terms of politics. When J.B. Dankwa founded the Gold Coast Youth Conferences, all the members that congregated, Paul Hagan, Nchireku Chirebua, Ateku Brakatu, all those people who founded, including Kosan, the Eastmans, people who gave all the speeches, including Dankwa himself, were Masonic brothers. And all these people fought for the independence of the country.
Yeah. Wow.
Kosan, when he founded the committee, the joint committee of provisional councils of chiefs, when they made him to come out with a joint alternative constitution to Alamban's constitution, all the people in R.S. Blay, who was then the primus of his lodge from Sekondi, all of them were Freemason brothers who were meeting to come out with alternative constitution for the Gold Coast. The finest hour of the Freemason was when they met even as a United Gold Coast Convention to found the UGCC at South Pond, the Canaan Lodge itself, from the Infantiman Lodge around there, shows you also the contribution of the Masonic brothers who have met to think about how to get independence for their country. From there, Nkrumah may not be a member, but he was a fraternity member in the American type, Alpha Beta Kappa group.
Okay.
But when you take him out, people like Bodema, Botio, and others, Kesinefo and others, they were all Masonic brothers. So the Masonic Brotherhood was not linked to only specific nationalist organization. The nationalist organizations that came out, most of them had Masonic brothers, and they were the standard bearers who were heading this political organization, ushering Ghana into independence. That is why J.B. Dankwa averred in his book on Ghanaian establishment. He argued that, for instance, if Grandmaster Akukosa had not shifted from politics and entered into the bench, he would probably have been the first president of the Gold Coast, and the Masons would have scored their first person who is the president, because they started the fight for Ghana's independence from the beginning.
Amazing.
So in the area of education, in the area of politics, they were highly involved. In the area of science, they were there producing results, taking care, going to the interiors to take care of people.
What do you?
Unfortunately,
Go ahead.
this organization suffered politics of propaganda during the Rawlins Revolution, where they came under attack over the revolution, particularly under the Citizen Vetting Committee, because most of the PNDC cadres have often pointed hands at the Masons as people who are behind the coups, and they are also the people who also bring the democratic government. So if PNDC was to rule for a long time, then the Masonic institution must be demonized, and they must use it as an object of ridicule. So they started accusing them of being ritualists, wherever they have their meetings, putting goat blood and other things there, and then blacklisting Masonic people as people who are engaged in occultism. In some places, they did propaganda leaflets. Names of Masonic brothers in their temples and in their lodges were being circulated, and people became persona non grata in their community during the revolution. It did not even end there. They went further to start burning some of the Masonic lodges. One of them at Ajabin on Accra Highway was even being set on fire. Until at that time, the Grand Master at that time was J.O.T. Ajaman Nekunedu's own father, who was also the Grand Master of the Scottish Constitution at that time, calling his brothers and other Masonic, sister Masonic lodges to come together to call on the chairman to stop the kind of vandalism that was going on against the Masonic lodges. So from that time, the propaganda assault, the Christian religious ethics of seeing anybody who do not do things in their way as evil, and so on, casted the Masonic fraternity in a bad light. So when we were kids, anybody who is older above the age of 40, you go back to your community, you see Masons back in the day, when they're having their funeral, they have their brass bands, they go around, they do tours, they do anniversary. In fact, in Fante communities, Mason became part of the society. Any church activities, you see the Masonic.
It's not true that the Masons have always been secretive or secret society.
You see, some of the questions that when I was doing work, when you ask of them, what is secret you cannot see? People know where the Masonic lodges and temples are.
Okay.
If they are secrets, you won't know.
Yeah.
That is the argument they make. But every organization has its secrets. So if brothers or the craft members are meeting somewhere and you are not a member, why do you want to go and know what is happening there? So if they are there having their meeting, Methodist Sunday school members, Roman Catholic Women's Fellowship of Order of Our Lady of Mercy, if they are meeting in their place, in their room, and if you are not a member, would they allow you? Every institution, the idea of being part of it is registering, becoming a member, and then you can talk. You don't stay outside and you dwell on rumors and you use it as a yardstick to talk about that institution. It is from that basis, me as a researcher, I come from, to have an open mind to discuss the organization as it is and their contribution, which is so insurmountable to the independence travel of this country. And as I have shown you, the leadership, the members who contributed in the various epochs of our nationalism, right from cultural nationalism, protest nationalism, and to radical nationalism, they have always been there and contributed in various ways towards the independence of the country.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we're speaking with historian Kweku Darko Ankra, and today's conversation has been about the involvement of Freemasons in the lead up to independence and Ghanaian politics. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode of Heritage on Air series. Heritage on Air series on Citi TV and Citi FM is brought to you by Miss Cookie Spices. No blending, no peeling, just scoop and cook. My name is David Kwekusechi. See you next time.
Ago.